Yo, what up, guys? It's Flark, and they've finally done it. They buffed Slam again. It was really for Arms Warrior, but it spills over to Fury. And I made a gimmicky one-shot build. I called it the comical build in a video like, what, 2-3 months ago even? And now they've made it effectively even more gimmicky and even more one-shotty to the point where it might actually be viable. I just did a solo shuffle to test it out yesterday after I finally got the gear because I hadn't played this warrior in ages. I'm still not done gearing it, as you'll see in a second, but I went 5-1. But the reason I went 5-1 is because the games ended before anybody could even press anything. They were just over. It's that silly. Of course, it has weaknesses. That's why I call it a gimmick. But I'm going to go over the build, and maybe you, if you're looking for something fun to do, maybe it's even good because 5-1 is good. I mean, I got a lot of points from that game. But yeah, I'm just going to give you the build, and if gimmicky one-shots are up your alley, then you're going to like this one. Okay. So first of all, of course, you want two-handers, both to be Verse Mastery. Grab these big Gladiator pole arms and put Sophic Devotion on both. You want every single damage mod that you can possibly get. And Mastery is a damage mod for Fury and Enraged, which you are enraged pretty much all the time. So that's just a pure damage mod. And you get these big two-handed weapons to get as much stats as you possibly can. Then you pretty much grab Verse and Mastery on every piece until you hit soft cap for Verse, which is 30%, which I think I'm right at. So look at me practicing what I preach. Let's see. There you go. 30, pretty much 31%. So I could even drop a little bit more Verse, but if you do Verse on every piece, you'll get like 36%. So drop some of that by crafting things like this necklace that you can see I have Haste Mastery on instead of Verse Mastery on. And using your tier set, of course. That's how you drop versatility, so you're not just stacking a DR stat anymore. It's decent, but an extra 5% damage and 2.5 damage percent damage reduction absolutely does not outweigh how fast the globals are, the attack speed is, the autos are for Annihilator, all of that stuff that you get from Haste. So you take a little bit of the Verse away, you put it into Haste, and then you get as much Mastery as you possibly can. I'm actually missing a few things, like I'm going to craft a Haste Mastery ring right here, or maybe actually a Verse Mastery ring probably. So that will drop a little bit of haste in the form of huge mastery. But everywhere else, like, look at this. Mastery, mastery. That one I need to replace with Scale Wardens. Mastery Cloak, Mastery Gems, Mastery Helmet, right? You just get even more than this. I'm not finished building it, but I really wanted to get it out and show you guys. But it'll give you something to work on. You can take some of these pieces, like this ring, craft a Verse Mastery ring. Like these bracers, grab the Scale Wardens bracer. I think I even have them somewhere. I might have had them at one point. You grab the Scale Wardens and you upgrade them from Trophy of Strife, and you get even more mastery. And the reason for that is because of the talent build. So the embellishment that I ran, of course, you grab the one where you CC people, you get primary stat because you're just going to run in there, charge, pop your one shot, Stormbolt them, and then literally try and one shot them. And then the other embellishment is the Zone of Mastery one. I think I'm actually going to swap it out for the Spore Cloak because, as you'll see in a second, I take a lot of damage in return from this build. So having a Spore Cloak as a little bit of self-sustain and a panic heal for my healers to try and keep up with this hilarity gimmick is actually really good. So run the Spore Cloak. Remember, the Spore Cloak would replace this, but it still has Verse Mastery on it, so you're totally fine to grab the Spore Cloak. Okay, but this is what you're really after. The talent build that I've still called comical in my list of setups, right? Because it is comical. You drop so many important things just so you can run in there and one-shot somebody, and it's so funny. So, effectively, you do all the general Fury stuff. You run the Bleed setup, which is this entire Bloodthirst package where you get Bloodborne, you get Gushing Wound, effectively, Cold Steel, Hot Blood. You go down Annihilator, and you go down the Reckless Abandon and Unbridled Ferocity, so you're effectively getting Recklessness all the time, and you're empowering your Bloodthirst, which do an enormous amount of damage. So it's like Bloodthirst Rampage. Yeah, I've done this. I've talked about this so many times before. It's kind of just the Fury package. But that talent, Storm of Swords, is why Slam is actually more impactful for arms than it is for Fury. It gives it a cooldown, right? Which is fine because you have a ton of buttons to press rotationally anyway. You don't want to press Slam every global, but when you do, It deals 100% increased damage. That's 100% mod on top of all the warrior ability slam mods you can get. And the PvP mod that's now really, really high. Here are the warrior ability slam mods you can get. Barbaric Training, 20%. Crushing Force, 60% with a crit chance mod, which helps because Barbaric Training also gives it a crit damage mod. So now you're seeing what I mean by gimmicky one-shot. You sacrifice so many important things for the slam mods in the warrior talent tree, the base warrior talent tree, and you have the slam mod in the fury tree, and you have the PvP mod, and then you attach Death Wish to all of that, which is a 50% damage mod to every ability, but at the sacrifice that you also take 50% more damage. But your upfront damage is so high, your haste and mastery are so good, that you can literally get all the damage out and one-shot somebody before they even know who to go. Now, this gimmick worked at low MMR before, but then they buffed Slam by another 50%, and my first solo shuffle after I got geared was 5-1, because again, every game ended in the opener. So maybe it was a gimmick at low MMR, maybe now it's a gimmick at middling MMR, which in solo shuffle could be 22, 2300. I mean, imagine just one-shotting your way to that rating. So let me show you real quick, and then I'm going to give you a variant on this build, but let me show you real quick what happens. So you stack your Death Wish up to 5 times, and you'll see, as you do, the Wrecking Ball is unleashed, right? It has a cooldown. You just do this behind a pillar in the starting room, or you do it as it doesn't cost you anything. You can do it as you do your rotation, right? Now you get 50%. You charge in there, you pop your one-shot macro, you get enraged. Look at the slam modifier right now. That's 180k. The reason my slam is not going to hit for 180k is because the PvP mod is not functional outside of rated PvP. The tooltip updates, but the damage itself does not happen. I guess for world PvP or maybe PvE in a world setting with war mode on. I don't really know why, but until you get into rated PvP, that 180k tooltip that I just showed you it's not something you're going to see. So if you hit the dummy and you're like, oh, I bet Slam's going to go crazy. I only did 7% of my damage. That's missing the PvP mod that made it look like it was going to do 180k damage. So effectively, in this scenario, it would go from your 5th damage to your 2nd damage. And yeah, it's going to hit. I have hit 170, 180k slams, and I'm still missing, like I said, a few mastery pieces that I want to grab. You could probably get over a 200k slam. And it is a fast global generator on a 10-second cooldown for 200,000. Now, of course, you have to play a gimmick to make that happen. It's not just baseline that's doing that much. You got to be stacked up on Death Wish. And that means you are susceptible to dying, which is why the Spore Cloak is good and rotating through your defensives is good. And a lot of the time, maybe you'll just die. But if you one-shot them first, that's pretty funny. The rotation for Fury is so easy, I can't go over it a third time. So I'm not going to bother. But I did want to show you guys something else. It's very simple what you can do. You can grab Onslaught and Tenderize instead of Odin's Fury, and some of the bleed package. You swap up a few more things than this. You could probably just run exactly this, but if you wanted to be a little bit more Rampage focused, here's what happens, right? Now you have Onslaught. It kind of steps on the toes of Slam, but because Slam is a cooldown and Onslaught is a cooldown, you could effectively just press them on cooldown. Doesn't really matter. Onslaught is also buffed in PvP, and it's also a generator that does a ton of damage, especially with Death Wish. And it grants you the real slaughtering strikes, right? Which is right here. You can see, what do I mean by the real slaughtering strikes? Well, Annihilator makes your Rampage only do 2% more damage. But Raging Below makes it do an additional 20% more damage, stacking up to 5 times. And Onslaught gives you that type of slaughtering strikes, right? So you can get huge Rampages, and you can have huge Onslaughts. On a pretty short cooldown. So you rotate, like, you do your rotation, and then when Slam is off cooldown instead of Bloodthirst, you press Slam, and when Onslaught is off cooldown instead of Bloodthirst, you press Onslaught. Those are still generators. They still hit really hard. They give you extra benefits, and then you Rampage every time you're stacked to 100 Fury. And it is effectively the easiest rotation in the game. So yeah, there it is, the gimmick. I might even make another video of me one-shotting in this if I get a lot of good footage. Again, you could probably hit for 200k with Slam. 130k with onslaught. Rampage then would get the super channeled buff. Even that would hit for 100k. You're going to be dying, and they're going to be dying the entire time. It's probably the most hilarious build you could ever play, and your healers will both hate you and love you at the same time. Okay. I just wanted to show you guys that. It had to have been done. When I saw that slam modifier, I was like, all right, I'm making this video. You got to try it out. Just try it out. See how it works for you. Pretty funny. Okay. Told you it wasn't going to be long. 10 minutes. It's the shortest guide I've ever made. I did it. I made a 10-minute video. Okay, peace. Sweet.